compassion of Christ. And Christ said he not only knows what we're going through, he not only knows mentally what we feel, he felt it. He feels it himself. He felt it. He can actually, you can sympathize for someone and you can empathize with someone. One of them requires you to be able to feel what they're going through. Not just know it. Well, yeah, I know you're having a hard time. This has happened. But I've been there. I had the same thing. So I had similar things happening to me. I understand because I was there. Christ was there. He'd been there. And we need to remember that when we're calling out, when we're feeling like all's lost, we're feeling hopeless, we're feeling like, well, they're just, how's this going to happen? He's been there. Call out to him. But you also got to believe. And we have a hard time with that because that's going to require a lot of things that we have a hard time doing. And a lot of that's just giving up and letting him do it. And that's hard. We're human. It's hard. So at the same time I was getting that lesson and studying, I started getting thoughts on this and started studying stuff on to looking at how are we serving God? How are we getting to where we are? Because what I started off looking at a lesson, and we may get there at some point down the road, but I started off looking at a lesson about all the different groups of people. They called them the ites. You know, Amalekites, Midianites, and all the many different ites that Israel dealt with. And what happened with all the different ites. And if you looked at them, they each represented different times and different experiences Israel went through, and they were each different types of people. They had different characteristics. And the problem was Israel was told how to deal with these. And for a little while they did good. And then Israel got tired of dealing with them. Didn't want to deal with these no more. And when the ones they didn't deal with, they paid for. Because you don't want to deal with them now, God let them deal with them forever. And see, then as I was studying in this and looking at this, it really brought up a lot of thoughts, and then come back to me again. I'm God. I do not change. I thought, what do we think he's just going to make it all different for us? He's just going to pull all the rules, all the ways he does things, the way he handles. He's just going to change it just for us. I mean, he's told us over and over, I'm God. I don't change. The things that make me holy, that make me righteous, that make me God, they don't change. And I've read in there, I was looking, there are several scriptures in there. You're man, you think I come down and do what you do. I don't. You think I'll wink at this. I won't. I'm like, We have this problem. We keep forgetting he's not human. He's not a man. He's God. I was reading a guy talking about he in his mind, and I don't know. I'm not there. He believes he had a death experience. They said he was dead for 45 minutes. They got nothing, no signal of any kind out of his body. And he came back and told him when he was out there, he said he went to an afterlife. And he had been a Christian before he went. And he said, I went, and there was these things. He goes, I guess you'd call them angels. They didn't look like, in my mind, what I thought an angel would look like, but I don't know what an angel looks like. All I can think of is humans. He goes, and everywhere I went, there was this, there was this, there was this, there was this. And they said, over there's the Son of God. He's out there. Wow, look at that. Wow. He goes, but what's this all around us? It's just everywhere, this big glow. What did it go? Oh, that's God. Huh? No, he's not there. He's everywhere. He said, in your mind, you can't even conceptualize it. When he came back, he goes, my desire to live for God is so much stronger now than it ever was. God is everywhere. And we want to make him a being who's off in this place and he doesn't have any idea what's going on. That he's everywhere. So, as I was studying into this and looking into it, thought kept coming back to me was Israel had problem with all these ites. They had problem with all these things that God told them to do, and it's because they wouldn't do what he said. What are we holding on to? Come on. We're human. What are we holding on to? Oh, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not sinning. Look, we go through the motions in our life. If we claim to be living for God, we go out and we do Christian things. Most of us have been living around a church or around people or grew up in church, and we know how to do Christian things. We know how to live a Christian lifestyle. We know basically what that looks like. Well, I don't do this and this, and I do this and this and this. We can figure out a list and put together one together and kind of do that. We can put on our Christian look when we go town, when we go out and about. We can go out and look like it. But that ain't the heart. God looks right straight through all that stuff, right down to the heart. What are we holding on to? See, we got all our pretty colors on. We know how to look. We know how to act. But are we Christian? Are we Christ-like? Living like Christ? Oh, well, no, wait a minute. No. Are we living a life that's pure and holy? And God's always first. The biggest part of our problem, we know how to act. And this is a problem. We know how to act. We know how to put all this on. But you can't act God first. That's going to start getting where you live. That's going to start getting down to where, and now it's me or God. Now I'm going to put me aside. And that gets hard. That gets real hard. Because it gets into what we do, what we don't do. Do we get what we want? And we want a lot. And we don't want a lot. It's going to get into all that stuff. Does what God wants matter more to us than what we want? Does how he wants matter more than how we want? Come on, what are we holding on to? This caused Israel's destruction. You look over their history, and I got fortunate enough when I was in college to have a history professor who decided he was going to do the history of Israel with us because he was going to teach us about the Middle East. And we started way back at Abraham and went all the way up to like the 70s or 80s. And he took time, and he was not religious, and pointed out all the times Israel went back on God. And what happened? Till they finally got drove out of what is now what we call Israel, or what was then the area of Canaan. They got drove out of it completely. They never would submit to God because they had things they wanted to do. They kept holding on. He goes, they would go back on their God, and God would drive them out of there. And it was a good class because we had 2 Jews in there, and they were just having fits. Because historically, they couldn't disprove it. The Jews didn't listen to God. And we think, oh, we're better than them. No, we're doing the same thing. Come on, people today are doing the exact same thing, just in different ways. God says, here's what I want you to do. Here's how I want you to live. You got to, from the very beginning, even with Israel, make me first, and I'll be your God. Well, that's number one problem. We're right off the bat. People, no, he can't be first because then I. God sent his son to earth to be an example to us in all things. We can have a path to salvation. And we'd have a way, somebody who showed us how to live. 1 Peter 2, 21 through 24. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that you should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled, reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judges righteously, who his own self bare our soul in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sin should be righteous, by whose stripes you're healed. He was our example in everything. He showed us how to live. He showed us how to react, no matter how things went, no matter how we were treated. The problem is, if we're going to live like Christ, we're not going to get a whole lot of what we want. I didn't say you couldn't have happiness, you couldn't have peace, you couldn't have joy, but you're not going to get a whole lot of what you want. Because when you submit to God and you start doing what He wants, that'll be where your happiness and peace and joy is. You come to a place where you want what He wants, you're not fighting yourself. But until that point, you're fighting yourself a lot. That's just the way it is. 1 John 2, 5 and 6. But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby we know that we are in him. He that abideth in him ought himself also to walk even as he walked. I looked up that. I wanted to see how that was in other interpretations. In the Bible in basic English, he who says he's living in him will do as he did. The NET version, whoso claims to live in him must live as Jesus lived. NLT, those who say they live in God should live their lives as Jesus did. And you can go down through all the translations, and they all come back to the same thing. If you're claiming to be God's, you're claiming to be living as his child, you're going to live like Christ. Oh, but, well, okay, how did Christ live? Oh, well, now we're in trouble. Now we're seriously in trouble. John 4 and 34. Jesus said unto them, my meat, that which sustains me, that keeps me going, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work. John 6 and 38. For I came down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. John 8, 28, 29, Jesus said unto them, ye have lifted up the Son of Man. When ye have lifted up the Son of Man, then shall you know I am he, and I do nothing of myself. But as the Father has taught me, I speak these things. And he that sent me is with me, for the Father hath not left me alone. For I always do those things that please him. Well, we're saying we're his. If we're his, we're like Christ. We got a problem here. We got a problem here because when we're saying we're like Christ, but yet I don't have to live like Christ, but I'm his. No, it doesn't work that way. God said, I never change. I never change. You're saying you live like my son, and I sent him down to be an example in all things, and he puts me first. Straight is the gate, narrow is the way, and very, very, very few there be that find it. We have a hard time with this. Come on, this is all of us included. We have a hard time with this because we want, and we know, and we think, and we feel, and we want, and we don't want. And Christ said, there's all this, and there's the Father. And while I live here, this is what I want. This is where I'm going. John 14:31. But that the world may know that I love the Father, and as the Father gave me commandment, even so I do. Arise, let us go. And he didn't always want to do it. He didn't always feel like doing it. He was sometimes not only didn't want to do it, he really didn't want to do it. He was scared to do it. Come on, he was human just like all of us. He felt all this. There's times when God, why? Matthew 6 and 39, or 26 and 39. He went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, oh Father, oh my Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. man, God, if you can find any way, Dad, to do this, can we skip this? Can we do it a different way? Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. And there's companion texts and more variations of that from other writers. Come on. You see this? You notice a major theme in Christ all along, all through here. What's the theme of Christ? His example. He's telling you how he approaches it. His approach is, all right, Father, whatever you want. I don't always want to do it, but whatever you want. I don't always feel like doing it, but whatever you want. What you want comes first, because that is the most important. We have so much trouble just doing simple things, putting God first in them. Well, I'm just giving you what God gave me yesterday. We have trouble putting the simple things first, putting God first in them. Why? Because we have friends and we have family and we have social groups and we have people we work with and people we go to school with and all these things. And these people see us and they're around us and we're around them. And in all those groups, whichever group it is, doesn't matter. We want to be liked. We want to be accepted. We want to be like them so that we don't stand out and we're not odd and different and weird. That's human. That's what we want. And in wanting those things, we strive for those things. We look how close to the edge we can get to be like those people without, I didn't go too far. Why are you worried about going too far? If we're trying to be like God and we're trying to serve Him and be like His Son, we're not even trying to get close. We're trying to go the other way. Come on. There's a scripture out there, I can't remember, James, maybe James or Peter. To avoid the very appearance of evil. Don't see how close to the world you can get, how much you can look like them, how much you can fit in, how close you can be without, well, that's not really sinful yet. Why are you wanting to get close? Christ didn't want to be close to the world. He's your example. Come on. I've been through there. I grew up too once a long time ago. And I know some of the things that young people go through. I know some of the things that I went through. You want to be close, you want to be like your friends, you want to fit in. I had sisters, I know what it was like. I heard the arguments and the constant fussing about it. I know what they dealt with. And they're human, everybody is. But the girls at school, they do this and they wear their hair like this and the guys, but the guys were all run around, and back then shorts weren't basketball shorts, they were shorts for men's basketball. I mean, they look like doofuses. But that's what everybody wore. And I'm out there wearing sweats and I look like an idiot. And they're running around in tank tops and I wear a t-shirt and I look different. I look like a doofus. And they have no problem telling you look like a doofus. None at all. Every 5 minutes. Maybe even call you that because you look different from everybody else. When I was there, I know how it goes. And you feel pressure. And they pressure girls. Look, come on, put on some makeup. Put a little bit on. So you can look, you'll look. You're trying to not look like God made you. Period. Oh, but it makes, no. What are you doing that is making you look more godly? What's making you look more like He made you? Bringing more honor to God, not to me, not to how I look, not to how the world be attracted to my body. And I'm not even talking just sexual. I'm talking just the world be attracted to me as opposed to God. Whether we like it or not, we got to dig deep if we're going to make it. We're wanting to be like the world. We're wanting to be the world. How we dress, how we wear our hair. Whenever everything we're doing is to be out there and to fit in and to look like and be attractive to that, as opposed to, God, how do you want me to be? When the groups we pick to socialize with, whoever that is, whether it's individuals or groups, the people we socialize with, are we doing this to honor God? Is honoring God always first? Because if it is, there's going to start becoming roadblocks. There's going to be limits. Come on, we were taught this very strongly growing up. If you're trying to honor God, and God is what you care about more than anything else, you're going to look at this and you're going to be friendly. You will always treat people nice. You will always treat them good. But there will come a point, and it won't take very long, they're not interested in living for God. They're only wanting to do the pleasures of this world. If I continue down this path, they're going to draw me after them. You only got two ways. You influence for God or they influence for the devil. One of them's going to happen. We got lots of scriptures. Light can't be where dark is, and dark can't be where light is. One of them's going to take over. When we get down that path, we better be ready to make a decision, and it's going to be a hard one. Okay, they're either going to be interested in going with God. Now I can fellowship with these people. If not, it's nice. I'll be friends with you. I can visit once in a while, but I can't spend all my time with you. Why? I'm going to live for God. I want to make it. And it's not going to happen if I get too close to this. I won't get too tied in. And once I get too tied in, I'm going to have trouble living for God. Come on. God's told us, when you get salvation, there's a few steps to salvation. Obviously, turning towards God and believing and repenting is part of it. But where was it back in 2 Chronicles 7:14? If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, they're saved. And they're good and they can just go. Got to turn away from that stuff. And turning away from it doesn't mean take it along with you. Doesn't mean stay where it is. Just, but I want to be as close to it as I can, and it's right here, and if I stand right here, I'll be just okay. Turn away from it. Then there's salvation. Our problem is what are we holding on to? We have a hard time with this. When the Lord woke me up and showed me, I was up in the middle of the night the other night. It's like, wow. He's like, no. And those who have preached know what I'm talking about. You get this first, so you get ripped up good first before everybody else gets to hear it. What are you holding on to? Are you letting things control you? Or letting you things be the things that are more important to you starting to get in the way? Because you won't let them go. I told you, and I showed you through my precepts and my principles and the things I've showed you in my scriptures and my word, I showed you I'm not really happy with this. If I'd have gave you my list of do's and don'ts, it would have been a whole set of encyclopedias, not the Bible. I taught you my principles. I gave you some basics. You're to look at it and know, okay, he's not going to be happy with this. I shouldn't really be doing this. But part of that goes beyond just what's black and white. We heard a lot of preaching about this when we were kids, and it's always been a concern of mine. If you're saved and you've been saved for any length of time, and God has not given you any convictions, personal instructions for you, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to not do this. This is between you and me. This isn't good for you. This is good for you. You better get on your face, because God doesn't take very long to give those out. Come on, he doesn't take very long to give you personal convictions. I've had a few that I know for sure I've had since I was like 18, 19. They've never gone away. He never released me from them. Apparently they're good for me. I've never fought against them. I was like, Lord, if that's what you want, I committed it to you back then. Why fight it now? Why fight it? But the fact is, he will be giving you some convictions. Well, I know if I do this, this is going to make me too much of myself. I need not do that. Okay, we just won't do that. I know if I do this, I'm not going to be able to be a witness to these people because all they're going to see is this happy, fun, and games person. There's no way I can ever be serious with them. There's no way I can ever talk to them about God because I get all too caught up in the party atmosphere of what we do, and how can I win them like that? There's more to life than just not sinning. Come on, this goes way deeper than that. People seem to think some of this stuff's just temporary. Some of it will just go away. Well, let's look at what God told Israel. Deuteronomy 7. We won't get all of it, but I'll get pieces of it. This is how he started them off. When he was telling them, before they ever got there, because you can go back on farther and get into Joshua, and Joshua told them some of the same things. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land, whither thou goest, to possess it, and hast cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, 7 nations that were greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. You'll make no covenant, no contracts, no bargains, no treaties. You'll make no covenant with them, nor show mercy on them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall not give unto his son, nor shall his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. So he started right off telling them, look, when you go in this place, you're going to have to get rid of this. You can't cover it up. You can't push it to one side. You can't make treaties with them, make them your slaves, or make them agreed to be peaceful people. Get rid of them. Gone. Totally gone. Drive them out or kill them. They can't be there. You can't be part of them. They can't be part of you. But thus shalt thou deal with them. Thou shalt destroy their altars, break down their images, cut down their groves, burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are on the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love on you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any other people. He didn't pick you because you were the biggest or the best. You were the fewest. So he said, for you were the fewest of all people. He didn't pick you because you were some wonderful, great thing. He picked you because he wanted you. But because the Lord loved you, because he would keep the oath which he has sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh the king. Know ye that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keepeth his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack with him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. And it just goes on and on and on about how he'll take care of those who love him and how he will destroy those who hate him. But he told them, you've got to get rid of it. When you go in, you've got to drive this out. Kill it, wipe it out, keep nothing of it, no part of it. What they do, the things that they cherish and worship, Gone. Now, how's that different from when we're giving our heart to Him and we're in sin? Come on. Those sinful things, those things of the world, those things that attract us to the world, but we want to hang on to a few of them. Well, this isn't so bad. But this isn't. But they're nice people. Yeah, they're living for not for God, and they have no interest, and they want you to live like them. But this isn't so bad. It makes me fit in, and I feel more accepted. Well, they'd have fit in and felt accepted by all those people if they just went in and joined them. What are we holding on to? See, this is where we get ourselves in trouble, because we want. And one of the things we want is to be accepted and be part of everybody else. Like I said, we may get into a lesson on this. I got some thoughts that's come to me. I just don't have the go-ahead to go there yet. But Israel went in. They mowed through about 2/3 of the land of what we call Canaan. I mean, they went through and they were wiping them out. Then they started coming up against murmuring and complaining. Fussing. Didn't like this. Didn't like how this was being done. Didn't like how Joshua or whoever was doing this or that or whatever. Just like they did with Moses. Some places they got out far enough and they settled down for a little bit. Then they started mingling with the people that hadn't been driven out yet. Started picking up idolatry. Started worshiping the same idols. Then God didn't help them win. He let them get beat a few times. They got in themselves. They went out and tried to fight battles without God telling them to fight battles. AI, anybody? Come on, they went out. We can do this. We just wiped out all these. We'd go over here in this little town. We can do that. And they got beat like crazy. They didn't win all their battles because they tried to do it in themselves. Every time they followed God, did exactly what He said the way He said, He fought the battle for them. When they didn't, they had terrible losses. And they come to points where there's people who didn't want to leave. And it's right in the scriptures. There's Canaanites who did not want to leave. So rather than make them leave because, that's harsh, that's mean, they signed a treaty with them. I thought He just said don't do that. They made an agreement with them. Well, you work for us. Basically, you be our servants. You can stay here. Then as far as they got to the north, about the top third of Canaan, they basically just quit. Most of those people, they never did drive out. They just left them live. They moved in around, lived around them. Then you go through the rest of the history of Israel. The entire history of Israel, as long as they existed in the Canaan area, those people that they did not drive out are the ones that eventually drove them out. Come on. Those same ones are the ones that gave them trouble all their life. Teamed up with other kingdoms that came in whenever wanted to try to take over the country, they would go join them. They'd help others fight against them. They had to deal with this for, 1,500 years? Moses was around 360 or 1,360 years before Christ. All because they didn't do what God said. He said go in and just push them out. Kill them, wipe them out, get them out of here. I want my land to be clean and pure. I want it to be a place where my people can dwell and live righteously for me. And we won't have none of this problem. But yet they wouldn't do that, and so therefore they dealt with it forever. And they lost many, many husbands, fathers, sons, daughters, mothers, because they wouldn't listen and do what God said and just get rid of sin. They would say, I'm done with it. So they dealt with it. And God doesn't change. When you won't get rid of sin, you will pay a price for it. And many of them just were lost eternally. Most of them were lost eternally. There's hundreds of years, not just generations. There's hundreds and hundreds of years where they had no prophet at all. There were many dead spots in that time. And there's many times, even when they had a prophet, they were so caught up in idolatry and sinful stuff, they wouldn't listen anyway. But yet we come to our time, oh, I grew up in this, I'm good. I told the Lord I wanted to live for him. And I know how to put this on, and I know how to wear my cloak, and I look like a Christian. I know how to act, and I act like a Christian. But what's in the heart? What is it we're not giving up? Because we really don't want to give it up. That's why we're not going forward. Come on, you want victory. You want to go forward. You want to have power with God. You got to do it like Christ did. There is no other way. And that means you're going to have to give this stuff up. We're going to have to give up the things of self that's holding us back. Not everything's sinful, but not everything that holds us back is not sinful. Some of it is just wanting to be too close to the world, too much like the world. And then therefore, because of that, you're not an effective example. Our job isn't go out and be friends and pursue life, peace, and happiness. I was reading I guess called a devotional. This guy was talking about it. He goes, the world's Christians today think that our goal in life is our personal happiness. I said, find me a scripture for that. Your goal is to serve God. In serving God, he will give you peace and joy. Happiness, maybe, maybe not. Doesn't necessarily come with it. There's no promise that you will have happiness any or all of your life. You will have peace and you will have joy. You may, if you can really get yourself to the point where you can submit easily, be happy in doing it. And desire it. But sometimes it's a struggle to do it. We might as well be honest. We try to make it out like, well, you get saved and boom, you should have no more problem at all of any kind. That's not true. Sometimes it's a struggle. But if you're pursuing the things of God, you won't have as much of a fight as when you're constantly wanting to see how close to that edge I can get and still not go over it. So that everybody thinks I'm on this side. As long as I'm trying to be that close, I'm going to have a fight. Because that's like a giant magnet over there just pulling and pulling and pulling. And where I need to be is, I turned away. That's not pulling very hard. Why? I'm not even over close to it. What's holding us back? You go to the book of Judges and read it, and you'll get a lot of the results of what Israel did. But we think, well, we can read about this in a book, and these guys just weren't very smart. I mean, they were constantly going back on God for every whip stitch and doing things that we wouldn't go worship an idol carved out to look like a man or a cow or a monkey or whatever it is they were worshiping. Yes, there were those who worship monkeys. Oh, we would never do that. We're smarter than that. These guys were just stupid. They just had a hard time with us. We have a hard time with the things we don't want to let go of for whatever their attraction is and whatever the reason is they did them. We have a hard time with the ones we don't want to let go of. Oh, but nobody said things are all sinful. Are they drawing you to or away from God? When you sit down and look yourself in the mirror, just you and that mirror, and say, why do I do this? And be absolutely honest, why do I do this? Am I going to have a problem with God? Not, is this okay, is it sinful? Why do I do it? That's where he's at. Why do I do it? Why do I want to act like this, look like this, dress like this, go here, say this, do this, whatever it is? Because his job, Christ gave you your example, then he gave you your job. Go out in the world and spread the gospel. Is doing X, whatever X is, going to help me be able to win people to Christ? That is the one job he gave me. Is looking, acting, being more like the world going to cause it be difficult for me to win them? Because I'm so much like them. He gave me one job. And if I fail in that job, I've failed it all. No matter how nice I was, no matter how much people liked me, I've failed it all. How do I know? How do I know? Matthew 7:13-21. Enter ye in at the strait gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth unto destruction, and many there be that go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Then it goes on. Beware of false prophets. Come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. They're telling you it's okay. Oh, you're fine to do this. You're fine to do these things. They're destroying. They're after your soul. Oh, no, this won't hurt you. Yeah, it won't help you. You shall know them by their fruits. Come on, when you look at their lives, how many are they winning to Christ? How many are seeing a great conversion or turnaround in their life because of what they're telling them they need to do? Even so, you shall know them by their fruit. Do men gather grapes from thorns or figs from thistles? Even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit. A corrupt tree cannot bring forth good fruit. Every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit will be cut down, cast into fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord. Not everybody who claims to be mine says, I'm God's child, shall enter in the kingdom of heaven. Only he that does the will of my Father. And our own will, and what we feel, and what we think, and what we want. No. So I know this is a serious lesson because I believe me, I've been sitting on it for 2 weeks. I know it's a serious lesson. But the fact is we better start looking back and examine ourselves. What are we holding on to? When we go out and we're claiming to be God's, Christ gave us an example of what it takes to be God's son. God gave us his instructions on how he wanted many things done through Israel and other ones, how he wanted man to be and how he wanted man to live. And he told us, I never change. Man changes God a lot. Well, God doesn't require this. He's always required this. God doesn't demand, he's always demanded this. But yet, we're human. We want to fit in. We want to be accepted. We want to be liked. We want to be not different. We want to be as much like as we can. But when we look in that mirror and we say, how is this helping me win souls? How is this helping me be more like God and be an example of Christ? We can't say it does. All we can say is that, I think it's nice. I don't like. Whatever it is. I don't want. There wasn't a whole lot of room left for I in there. This is where our problem comes in. There's not a lot of room left for I. He said, do the will of my Father. How much are we holding on to? We just need to examine ourselves. We want to make it, and I want everybody to make it. I want us all to make it. He gave us lots of warnings. We just got to be careful. It's easy to get caught up and start letting things creep in. And we start, yeah, but I got friends over here and they do this, and this won't hurt. And this will be okay. This will be okay. And I'm not touching yet. That's not where we're supposed to live.